So, good afternoon. Um, my name is Portia, and I am recording this video because I want to share how I'm doing at this point in my recovery. I had a hysterectomy on June 5th, and today is about a week or a week and a half out from the procedure. I've really been trying through Instagram stories to convey to people what it's like to go through this procedure. And the reason I'm doing this is twofold. One, for me, I'm a social person. So even in a time where I'm not working, I know that a good way for me to ward off depression is by still having a connection with the outside world. The second part is that when I first made the decision to have this procedure, I really didn't know a lot of people who looked like me or were my same age that I could call upon to talk about their experiences and their decisions. So I've been careful not to overexpose myself. I definitely want to protect myself first, but I also want to take a moment sooner rather than later just to share what my experience has been like. My hope is that if it resonates with you, that would be wonderful. If it reminds you of somebody you know and something they might be experiencing, then I hope that you'll share it with them. And if you have a story to share, then I would love to hear yours too. So I'm not going to talk for long today. I think I can always develop more videos when I'm feeling better, but I just want to check in with where I am right now. So far, my recovery has been typical in ways. I think some of the things that have happened to me are par for the course. The type of procedure I had is called a laparoscopic assisted vaginal hysterectomy, or LAVH for short. And in that procedure, they basically made three holes, one through my belly button and two on either side in my stomach region. Um, this allows them to put some probe cameras through, and they then inflate gas into the cavity, and they're able to better see where they're performing the surgery. They then, I'm not going to go through all the steps, but they basically remove the uterus through the vagina, which actually keeps from having to make large incisions. And they took out my cervix, they took out the fallopian tubes. Um, I think that all that's pertinent for this conversation is to say very clearly this is considered a total hysterectomy, and I will not be able to have children. However, I am hopeful that it will help to alleviate much of the excruciating pain that I have been going through um, related to my cycle for decades, honestly. So, again, I'll get into more of that in a future video, but that's the procedure I had, and the reason I shared so much detail is that I want to make it clear that this is a major surgery. In my experience thus far, people see a smile on your face and they think, oh, you look really great. You must be doing really well. And the truth is, guys, the surgery was not on my face. So, yes, I chose to do a hairstyle that makes me look very well put together. That was my own doing. I didn't want to have to think about my hair during my recovery. And it's easy to toss on one of several dresses that I've specifically set aside during this time of recovery, just because with all of the incisions and recovering from surgery, your belly's a bit more swollen than normal. So that's why I can look nice, but it doesn't mean that that's translating to what's going on the inside. So, as I was saying earlier, some of the things that I've experienced during my recovery have been typical, others have not. But the first thing I want to communicate about recovery is that it really is an up and down process. I was instructed to anticipate anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for my initial recovery time. And this is a time where I really just want to take it slow. I'm not supposed to bend. I'm not supposed to lift anything over 10 pounds. Um, so far, I've really not left the house as much as I usually would. For a long stretch there, I really just stayed inside. I didn't even want to deal with the bumps on the road or sudden stops that come from riding in a car. I'm starting to get better about that because I have had to go to urgent care or, things like that. But I did try to go to a restaurant, and it was unfortunately the same day as many, many graduations in the area, and ended up leaving. I just didn't have I don't know, I didn't have the patience and the strength to sit up right that long. So we ended up at a um, more casual food place after that, and it was a much better fit for my needs in this point of the process. So I really think twice about putting myself out there in settings where you just have to be more social or you need to have more bandwidth. So the physical piece has been interesting. After my surgery, a lot of my normal organ functions were not resuming. I can explain what that means at a later moment, but I ended up in the hospital for about 3 or 4 days after my surgery. And that was not easy. Fortunately, I had packed an overnight bag just in case. So I had most of the things I needed. I had a really great care team in the hospital. I'm very grateful for that. But the reason I was kept in the hospital, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and get into it. I didn't have normal bladder or bowel function. So can't go home like that. Um, Couple of days we tried, just seeing if things would resume naturally. Then we tried some other things, and fortunately around day 4, it was enough for me to go home. So I've been home ever since. I did go back to urgent care this week for an infection, and still trying to get to the bottom of that one. Feeling a lot better, but not quite in the clear yet. So it's been a very humbling time because, guys, these are pretty basic life goals, and I always joke that they're like baby milestones. You think of like, you know, okay, good, the baby went poop. I don't know, but now that's my life. Yeah. So it's not something that I've really wanted to share a lot on social media. But I think that having been through health stuff before, I tend to be a pretty optimistic and humorous person. And so I just really love being able to laugh. And I've surrounded myself with some people who are really, really ready with all the 12-year-old humor once my life goals have been reduced to this. And so I got a lot of wonderful paraphernalia that was supposed to like just keep me laughing so I don't cry. And I think there was one day where I just sat around and watched like Bridesmaids and Ali Wong comedy specials. So embracing my pain and laughing at it has helped. It doesn't mean that it's not serious, but I also just have this perspective where I know that what I have going on is a lot. It's not the only thing going on in the world. There's a lot of people that are going through different situations. So I can have compassion for myself without getting too washed over in pity. That being said, another thing that's been challenging in this recovery is the emotional aspect. I actually met with my therapist a lot prior to making the decision to go through the surgery. And I knew that in the wake of the surgery, just with your ovaries, potentially being a little stunned by the surgery, you're going to have some type of hormonal shift. There may be ups and downs for a little bit. And so I honestly pictured 2 weeks of me just like crying about everything. And it hasn't been that. But there are moments where I just kind of feel like off in the distance I see self pity or depression. And so I try to do something to um, help counteract that. And so what might come later is a wave of frustration. And I'm just learning to approach my feelings with a sense of equanimity. And what that means is, yes, I have emotions that are happy. Yes, I have emotions that are sad, and they are both just emotions. I don't have to chase it away. Been doing meditation a lot more. I'm one of those people who's been very late to the party as far as embracing meditation, despite having gone through MBSR and other trainings. But now I'm actually starting to return to those trainings and say, okay, I'm ready to meditate. I'm doing guided meditations, and just really helps to set my I don't know, it helps to foster resilience, and it helps to give me some reserves to get through the day. That's the best way I can put it. So whether I'm meditating in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening, it's becoming something that I'm looking forward to, just to really help give myself more hope. So I think I'm in a really good place as far as my recovery goes. I do have some things I need to attend to, but I'm in touch with my medical team about that. That's another thing. For someone who teaches about the healthcare system, I'm always humbled by the difficulties that I have in navigating the system, and it makes me think about how much harder it is for people who don't know the ins and outs. I've definitely had to advocate for my care. I need to be really clear about what I think I'm experiencing. I may not be a medical expert, but you're always the expert on your own body, and you have to be able to articulate to people what your needs are and be willing to advocate for the care that you want. And sometimes what gets in the way is my wanting to be a good patient or a compliant patient. And I kind of have to pull myself back and say, wait, are you getting what you actually need? That being said, I'm really happy with the healthcare system that I've chosen. I've been through a lot of health stuff over the past decade, so I was really careful when I chose my current insurance to get one where if I had to go to urgent care, it'd be a short drive. If I had to had a surgery, I knew the hospital would be in a local distance, and I've really gotten to build solid relationships with my providers. So that being said, I feel like I have a lot of privilege in this situation, because I can go look things up and I can really educate myself, but it doesn't make it foolproof. And sometimes it's little things like having to make sure that you got as many pills in your prescription bottle as it said on the label, or making sure that you're asking about certain tests if they're not being done. And I don't want to suggest you should go overboard and ask for everything, but you might want to just empower yourself and read about your condition and figure out what questions you have and write those down before you go in, and try to take your time. If your chest gets tight and you get frustrated, I want you to know that happens to me too. So it's really just been humbling. Um, so the last thing that I'll say is I'm so grateful for my family and my friends who've been a part of this process. I actually opened up my Instagram this morning and realized that over the past couple of weeks, I've gotten all these supportive messages from my students, and I had no idea. So it made me really happy just to see their messages and know that they're thinking about me too. Um, I really love this life that I have as a professor, as a speaker, and taking a step away from it for a while isn't easy because there's a lot of work that I could be doing. But it sets the tone for me to practice what I preach about self care. And I know that by living it, I am teaching others. And I know that I'm going to have a lot more to say when I get back into my work. So that's all for now. Just want to say thank you, and thank you to my family for supporting me.